Welcome back to SparkleDart. If you have a grandpa or a grandma, or if you're an old man like me, and you have parents who are in a nursing home, then you'll be able to relate to this. Now, here's the thing about nursing homes, is that they're very, well, it depends on how they conduct themselves, but they should be clean places. They should be very clean places that old people can go to enjoy their golden years and not have to worry about people robbing them blind or taking their money or pushing them down a flight of stairs or something like that. And that's just how it should be, because old people don't like to fall down flights of stairs, as do young people not like to do that very same thing, unless they are dumb and they are drunk and they are in a fraternity. And if you're dumb and you're drunk in a fraternity, then that's up to you. I'm not going to judge you for doing something like getting into a laundry basket and rolling down a flight of stairs and possibly getting a concussion and then having to go take the SATs the next day. Not the SATs, your final exam of the school year, and then not being able to remember anything because you had to have a weekend at Bernie's and you don't remember anything. Now you have amnesia, and now it's like a fun movie because your friends want to go out and drink and get their party on. I didn't know what I was going to say when I started saying that sentence, so I hope you'll forgive me for that indiscretion of mine. And that was like a fun game. They have to like re-jog your memory, so they go out and party and do all the things that you like to do, that they know that you like to do, like go out to the ski slopes and sled down it in a shirtless, no shirt on, in a sled, like one of those disc sleds that aren't like safe, but they look like the tops of trash cans or something, or maybe just down the hill on the top of a trash can, like one of those old school metal ones, like what Oscar the Grouch lives in, not one of those like recycling ones, those plastic ones that the city of Tulsa will give you because you live in a house and they want to make sure that you put out your garbage so that the garbage can go to the right facility, the right landfill, and the recyclables can go to the recycling center. You can get your plastic water bottles made back into regular water bottles, and stuff like that, stuff where you're saving the earth and not making a bigger mess. If you've ever seen a landfill, like a picture of a landfill, what they try to do is they try to make it look real gross, and then they layer down a layer of Midwestern country barba on there. I just tried to make up the name of a grass. I hope that sounds like something, Midwestern country barba, and I hope that sounds like a real type of grass name, and if it doesn't, then I just go look up on Google any type of grass. I don't know, Bermuda blue tip, I don't know. Is that something? I hope it is. And they put that over the top of their garbage hills, which is a very apt description of what they are, as garbage hills. Because if you see it, they're big-ass hills in the middle of fields that are covered in grass, and you might think, that's just a nice hill. That's like a nice little hill that you could roll down. But if you roll down that hill, then you might, like when you're popping a zit, and you push it together and all that pus comes out, and it's real gross. Because pus is gross. It's a gross word. Pus is a word that sounds gross in and of itself, and even if you don't know what pus is, it's just a word that's unpleasant to say. But once you know what pus is, or bile, or fluid stuff like that, it's like spinal fluid. It's clear fluid that like cushions your spine when you fall off of a large building and then you like crack your spine, but like you don't injure yourself to a point where you're paralyzed. It will absolve that blow, and at that point you don't have to worry about people. You don't have to worry about people thinking whether or not you survived it, because they'll know that you did. They'll know that you did once you get back up and start jogging towards them and saying like, "Man, that was crazy. I can't believe we did that." And then they'll think, maybe we should go to the doctor, and you'll be like, "No, I'm fine." But then they look down at your arm and your bone's poking through your elbow, and then like you're missing like a toe or something like that. You know how it goes in these movies, these crazy like National Lampoon movies. You know how it goes. You've seen cinema before. You understand what I'm talking about. Now, anyways, I was going on about old people in retirement homes. Ageism is something that is, I don't want to like say any words that are upsetting for people who don't understand them, but ageism is something that happens in retirement homes. Is the young people come in and they work with the old people. They think to themselves, hey, this will be a job where I don't have to work very hard, and I can just kind of coast on by, and when I coast on by, I'll get paid. I don't have to clean, I don't have to do laundry, I don't have to do nothing like that, I don't have to wipe out feces. And then they'll find out that when they start working these jobs that they actually do have to start doing those things, and they'll just kind of, since they've already internalized, of course, that they're not going to do those things, then they'll just start not doing those things. Even when the supervisor comes downstairs and yells at them, they'll say, "Hey, Cindy, why didn't you, Mr. Crenshaw wet himself last night, and he was like that for a while. We can tell because it's all dry now, and his skin is all red and bed sore ridden, and he's got like wrinkles and stuff. Like, you know, when you stick your hands in the water for a long time, you get pruny and stuff like that. That's what it's like around his crotchal area. And Cindy's like, what would she even say to that? She'd say, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And then the supervisor has to only take her word for it, because at that point, like, you can't prove that she knew, even though she did, and she just didn't want to do anything about it because she's lazy. And she, like I said, she had already internalized that she was going to be a lazy worker, and because of that, it's just something that keeps on happening. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Is they say to their friends, wow, this job's really easy, and I make a lot of money. I make good money doing it, and maybe you should come join it and work for us too. And then their friend's like, wow, when you say you don't do a lot of work, I assume that means that you don't do any work, so you just go there and hang out for 8 hours at a time and do nothing all night, and then you still get paid for it. Wow, that sounds like a great gig. And then the friend doesn't correct them, because the friend doesn't know that they've thought this, because obviously humans can't read other's minds. If you didn't know that, if you're a ridiculous human being who's going to poke a hole in everything that I say with a sharp needle, and then it will burst like a balloon, and then I'll just look like an idiot, even though you're the one who's wrong. That's not what we're going for. That's neither here nor there. So these old people are treated poorly, especially if they have like dementia, or if they have dementia, or maybe they're just not really all there, and they have to rely on the assistance of the younger people, but the younger people aren't really in the business of helping them out because they think for whatever reason they don't have to. I don't know. People get fired, and then there's a large turnover rate, and then they can't afford to pay their employees as much because it costs a lot to add someone to payroll, take them off of payroll, and then just keep doing that all the time. The accountants have a lot of work to do, and it's all because of these like 21-year-olds who didn't go to school, but they think that a career in health healthcare or whatever is the right choice for them, because for whatever I don't stop that, go back. They think for whatever reason that that's the right way for them to do it, and I don't. You know, that's up to them, I guess. That's their own thing, because then they'll get fired, and then they'll have to go home and talk to their mom, and their mom will be like, how'd work go today, honey? You're home really early. And then she'll be like, oh, yeah, the next shift person came in and took over for me. And then her mom would be like, oh, really? That's weird. You only were there for like 5 hours. They came in 3 hours early, and then she'd be like, yes, that is how it happened, mother. Thank you for understanding me and my job. And I don't feel like talking anymore about it, so I'm going to go out with my friends and go down to the bar, and then we're gonna go dance, and don't expect to see me home tonight because I'm gonna go sleep over at Lauren's house. So thank you for talking to me, mother. And that's just how it goes in these retirement homes. That's just how these people live their lives, and it's kind of sad that they have to live this way, because people don't like to take care of them. People think that life is all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, everything, and it's not. It's really not. It's not like that at all. You have to work hard. You have to be a hard worker. You have to understand that you can only go out on the weekends. You should only make the weekends your time for going out and drinking, having fun with your friends from down the block. Because if you go out every night and party, even nights when you get off work at, like, say you get off work at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., you go out and start partying until like 2 is when the bars close in some states of the United States of America. I don't know if it's like that in all places, but it's like that where I live. And then you stay out, and then you have to get up real early because you have to go to the bank in the morning to move your direct deposit or whatever, so you can get the money to pay your apartment rent or whatever it is that you have to pay, those payments that you make every month. But you don't want to, so you wind up not doing it, and then you get late fees. They accumulate real fast, and it's like $100 for the first day, and then like $20 for every day after that. The grace period is over, that you have to keep on going there and paying these outrageous fees because you're not responsible enough to not rack them up, and that's kind of on you at this point. You blame your apartment landlord, but really it's your fault because you knew what the situation was. You knew that they weren't going to just let you get away with not paying them for the first like 3 days of the first month, because at that point it's like, are you prorated? Are you not? I don't know. It's a huge problem for them, and it should be a huge problem for you too, because they can evict you. You have no right to live there, and that's just what I'm getting at. Is that you have no right to live in those apartments. They are letting you live there because they did the background checks. They looked through your criminal history and saw that you had a parking infraction in like 2011 that you didn't pay for about 6 months until they started threatening to take away your license, and then you're like, okay, I guess I better pay this, and it was like 4 times as much as it was when you first got it. and you were complaining about that. You're like, why does this stuff always come up at the worst possible time? Well, it actually didn't. It actually came up 6 months ago, and you were just too lazy or too self-centered to go ahead and pay it. And that's just kind of how it is. And that's what it's like in these retirement homes. That's how it is. How was that for a conversation? Did that grab your goat? Please tell me it didn't grab your goat, because I don't even want to touch. I don't want to get my hand anywhere near your goat. I don't know where it's been. I don't know if it's been out in the pasture, licking salt licks, or if it's been just kind of stepping on things, because that's what goats like to do. They like to stand on top of things, and I can attest to that. It's like you go down to the park, and then there's like those wooden there's like wooden dividers next to the sidewalk that separate the grass and the sidewalk from getting onto each other, and you can go up and stand on that like it's a balance beam or something. But then you, like, if you were to get on an actual balance beam or like a tightrope or something, you wouldn't be able to, even if it's exactly the same procedure as what you were just doing, you wouldn't be able to do it, because for whatever reason, the fact that you're now 60 feet in the air and have a very real chance of falling down and dying is internalized in your mind, and you have to just kind of accept it. And when you get about halfway out to the ledge, you just kind of teeter and fall. Now, if you've ever seen those balance beam guys, they've got like those long poles. If you know what those are for, it's basically the same mechanism that cats have with the tail. They like to use a tail for leverage, because that's what a cat's tail is for, is leverage. It's not for anything deeper. It's not anything more meaningful than that. It's just leverage. They like to climb and jump on things, and to do that, they have to be able to balance themselves. But cats, they're humans too, so they can't just live their life in like a magical fairyland. And even if you think that they can, that doesn't really help them, because it's still, real life physics don't apply, fairy tale physics don't apply to real life. I'm sorry, that's just not how it is. If you think that maybe it is like that, then maybe you have some things to discover about yourself. Like, get a discovery card and then go down to the bank and tell them that you're canceling your current credit card situation, and they'll be like, you still owe $400, are you going to pay us? And then you'll be like, yeah, I'll pay it off with my Discover card, so that balance is just on my Discover card. And they'll be like, we can't do that. You can't just do that. That's not how real life works. And you'll be like, well, real life is just a fairy tale for me. It's fun and games because I don't like to take responsibility for stuff like this. And then what would they even have to say to that? They couldn't say anything, because they just have to be accepting, and they'd have to be honest with you and say, I don't want you to leave our bank when you still owe us money, because that's just not acceptable for me, because I didn't lend you that money. The bank did, and my superiors, my managers, he's not going to be happy when I tell him that you just defaulted like $400 on bank loans and you're just not going to pay it. You see how this is a problem for me. It comes down to me, because he's going to say, if I let you do this, he's going to say, well, why did you let them do that? And then I'll just have to be real with them. I'll have to explain to them that this person, they started yelling at me, and I started crying. I had to go into the back room, the safe, the vault area, where they keep all the paper money. But you can still see it from the back, because it's just covered up by a glass door during the daytime hours. And they went back there and cried, and you saw them crying, but they made it just look like they were checking their phone, but you saw them like wiping tears and snot away from their face. And then you started thinking to yourself, you started being a little bit more introspective about the situation, saying, maybe I shouldn't have been so mean, but honestly, I just had a real long day, I just got off work, and these people are hassling me, so at this point, what do I even do? I shouldn't make this about me, but clearly it has to, because if I don't make this about me now, I'll never have a backbone. I'll just let people walk all over me all the time. Just, these boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. And then one of these days, these boots, they're gonna walk all over you. And then what would you even do after that? You'd have to just accept it. You just have to accept that people see you as a pushover, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where you actually become a pushover. And that's, that one, like I said, that one's on you. And if you're going to let people do that, I guess that's kind of your own prerogative. That's not something I can control. All I'm telling you is to stand up for yourself, because if you don't stand up for yourself, then nobody's going to. That's just kind of how it's going to have to be in real life. Real life doesn't work the same way as it works in the movies. If you've ever seen, like, You, Me, and Dupree, you'll know that when these people start moving into your house and they're saying, I can't pay rent this month, and then you'll be like, I can't cover you this month because you had me cover you last month. And since I covered you last month, I can't afford to pay for your rent this month. And then they'll be like, I don't see how that's my problem, because it's your name on the lease, not mine. I'm just living here temporarily. And then you'll be like, well, you have a job, and I know you work full time and make good money, so why can't you afford to pay me? And then they push their Magic the Gathering cards out of sight so that you can't see them. And then they'll be like, I don't know why I don't have money. I guess my employers just screwed me out of like $50 or whatever from my paycheck. And then you'll be like, but you don't have any other bills besides your car payment. And you got a real expensive car, and I know that, but I know you don't pay more than $200 a month for it. And he'll be like, yeah, but I doubled up on my payment this time, so I couldn't afford to pay rent. And I'm like, why would you do that? That's really stupid. Why would you pay for rent? Or why would you not save your money for rent when you know that that's more important? And they'd be like, well, I just want to get this car paid off as soon as I can. And then you'll be like, but you took out like $40,000 on it. You're not going to pay it off anytime soon, so why bother trying to double up your payments every month if you can't afford it? You know, that's just what you have to be reasonable. You have to be a logical person. You have to make good decisions, especially when they affect me, because if I'm going to be covering your payments every other month or whatever, whatever the situation you want to be is, I know you don't want to pay at all, and I kind of suspect that you might be lying even, but you have to be mindful of me because we let you live here for free for the first month because you got kicked out of your parents' house because they were tired of you, 32-year-old boy living in their basement, and they wanted to like model the basement because it was like unfinished and it was just concrete floors and like wooden walls, wooden studs, no drywall or nothing like that, just covered up by posters and area rugs, and then like one partition off from the basement, like a rug hanging from the ceiling that had like a Bob Marley poster on it or something like that, and then they think that you're smoking weed down there, but you're actually just snorting cocaine, because for some reason you think that that's a better choice than weed, because weed makes smell and cocaine does not make smell. And that's how you logic it out in your mind, but it actually doesn't make that much sense because you're more likely to get in trouble, like big trouble, for having the cocaines instead of the marijuanas. That's just how I think it might be, but whether or not I'm right, you know, that's really up for debate. That's up for you to decide, America, not for me to tell you, because I would never, you know, that's one thing is people, they have these news sources they like to go to, and then they go there and just assume that the news sources are correct and don't even bother to like check up on those facts and see if maybe they aren't as correct as you might think, or maybe there's an element of truth that's being glanced over. Like recently they were saying the FDA was rescheduling marijuana to be a lower schedule. It's not Schedule 1 anymore, which means it's not top concern. People don't go to prison for that anymore. They just kind of get a slap on the wrist and say, hey there fella, don't do it again next time, otherwise we'll throw you in the slammer. Because cops still talk like mafia men or like private investigators from like the 1940s, which is real cool in my opinion that they're bringing that back. Oh, I apologize, that was disgusting. So much snot, so much gross. And at that point it's like, well, you know, if you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to talk like a mafia man, that's fine. I think it's funny, but people aren't going to take you serious if you talk like that, because if you're talking, if they think you're trying to be funny, then they're going to treat you like a funny guy, like a funny man, like how people treat like Jerry Seinfeld or the like, or some, you know, something like that. I apologize. They'll just be like, "Ha, that's funny," and then they won't take you seriously. You go down to the antique store, and then they see you there, and it's like, you can't. The cop says you can't park on the curb like that. He says, "Hey, wise guy, you can't park on the curb like that," and then you start laughing at him, and then you just walk into the antique store, and then he like puts one of those large steel like feet on your car. What would you even do then? Would you drive away with it on your car? And it would like tear up the inside, the vinyls, the interiors, and stuff like that. When you start driving, it starts going around like on that episode of The Simpsons. They just kind of, Homer just kind of decided, poison powder. No, I want that one. That one's a good one. Homer just kind of decided to start driving away without paying the fines, and because of that, he got in a lot of trouble, you know, downtown in New York. That's, you know, you've seen The Simpsons, you know how it goes. That's the episode where they stopped playing it in syndication because 9/11 happened, and we couldn't reference New York anymore for some reason because 9/11 happened, and it changed everything. Let me tell you, 9/11 changed everything, especially the stuff that's okay to talk about in popular media, like on King of the Hill, that episode. They had an episode in 1999 that they did where Bobby accidentally destroyed a skyscraper with an airplane, and then they stopped playing that episode in syndication after 9/11 happened because of, I guess it was inconsiderate to the American public, the American populace, because people can't handle real-life situations. They can't handle things that happen in the real world, and it's just sad all the time. Just be sad. People will, the media just wants you to be sad, because if you're sad, then you're not happy. And if you're not happy, then you're out purchasing things trying to get happy, like drugs and pharmaceuticals. So anyways, I think we covered a lot of ground today. I think this will be the last long one I do, and then we'll go back to regular length, because I don't have enough to talk about. It takes a lot out of me to do this show, and I just ramble, and sometimes I start to lose momentum. So that's what I'm doing here. So thank you for watching. SparkleDart. Goodbye. Mwah.